Access Channel. And it's my pleasure today to welcome Vicki Ford, who is Eastchester Councilwoman, and her role is a very significant one. Earth Day Coordinator?
Yes, Earth Day in Eastchester, which includes Bronxville, Tuckahoe, now Crestwood, and we have the city of Yonkers also cooperating with us. It's been a very joyous and exciting 5 months.
That's great.
That we've been planning this.
Now, Earth Day is something that started, I guess, about a dozen years ago?
9 years ago, actually. And we're kind of giving it another way in which we can celebrate. We have running right down the corridor adjacent to our area, the Bronx River Parkway Reservation. And next year, the year 2000, is going to be the year which is the 75th Jubilee celebration for the Parkway. And the county and the state and the federal government are all going to help us to celebrate next year. But we have a special opportunity this year because 32 inches in diameter has been created in Washington. The Rivers and Trails are presenting that to the area, and it will be used during the whole year celebration. But it needs a tryout. It needs a pilot launching.
And we're it.
We're it.
That's great. How's the ball used in the Earth Day celebration?
It's symbolic. It's going to float along on the surface of the water, and it's to capture the spirit of the river and all of the enthusiasm and energy and memories are to be invoked by this ball. And wherever there's a gathering of people at the side of the Bronx River, hopefully the ball will be in play at that time in that area. This is Saturday, April 24th, and it's exactly a month from today that you and I are speaking. So I'm very hopeful that all the rainy weather is out of the way and we have a glorious blue sky, sunny day for the children.
Now the 24th, that falls on a Sunday or Saturday?
It's a Saturday, and we're hoping that people will start as early as 9:15, gathering down at our location off Garrett Avenue, which is an extension of Tuckahoe Road, and put up their we have displays coming from the various historical societies with pictures that are being unearthed out of people's attics. And we have the Crestwood Station, the Women's Club of Crestwood has adopted that. They're going to have a display and things that they can interpret for you. And we're going to have guided walks. We're going to have the music kids playing music so that young people, when they arrive, can get into the marching beat to get the feeling of the rhythm of the day. And they will be very much a part of our ceremony, which will take place at 10:30.
Well, this is a very informal meeting. You're allowed to have your coffee while you're talking to me.
All right,
And
great.
we want people to know that we're using paper that can be recycled.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that the League of Women Voters are going to display is the whole effort on recycling and what it means to every community and consequently to our whole society.
Are they supposed to do any cleanup that day, or what is the purpose of that particular meeting other than to kick off Earth Day?
Most of the scout groups that are calling me, all the way down to the Daisies, who are only 5 years old and in kindergarten, are now starting little seedlings in egg cartons and various different containers that they have at home, and they will have an opportunity to plant those along the shady side, which is really the eastern side of the Bronxville Tuckahoe Lake area, and those little plots will all be assigned to them.
Yeah, our village has ordered 100 seedlings, and I don't think it'll be in time for that, but the scouts will also be planting them wherever they're needed.
Right, wonderful. We put in, I think last year we had 1,000 evergreen seedlings, which are they look about the size of a pencil with a root hanging down. Maybe 3 of those or maybe 10 of those have survived. But it's the experience of digging into the earth and putting things in place that are going to grow that makes such a important experience for the children, I think, in today's times.
Now, there's a lot of things happening along the Bronx River corridor. We have an organization called the Bronx River Parkway Conservancy. What is that all about?
That's like the Central Park Conservancy. It's going to be a group anyone can join, and you can give volunteer effort, or you can give $5, or you can make even a more significant stated contribution for something you want to see happen. But this is going to be a friends group that's going to help us to preserve, maintain, and really enhance our Bronx River Parkway.
Is it for a cleanup? I know there are groups that go along occasionally somewhere along the Bronx River and do a cleanup.
Right, and we have that actually in place. We have pitch in for parks, and we're asking people who like that kind of work to come together on Sunday, April 11th, between 12 and 2 in our area, and we'll just go through that area and pick up the odd things that happen to be there. It's pretty clean now, and for the last 3 years it's been pretty clean in our area.
So we have 2 dates to be concerned with. The 11th, which is a Sunday.
We call that a pre-cleanup. Right.
And then the 24th, which is a Saturday.
And that's the celebration. That's like a festival.
Tell the audience a little bit about this ball and what's going to happen with this ball.
Well, we're going to have the ball launched just behind the North Bridge, which is the longer, more beautiful bridge toward the Tuckahoe end of the lake.
Where all the wedding pictures are normally taken.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, we have some young couples that are going to be there that met on Earth Day that are going to be there helping us. That'll be sort of like an anniversary of their meeting.
Right.
They're going to be there also. But many of our mayors and Supervisor Jim Kavanaugh and Gordon Burrow, they've all agreed to come, and we will have probably the presentation of the colors by the Scouts, which would be the flags being brought forward. We will have a patriotic song, and then we will have a few remarks, very brief remarks, and then the golden ball will be launched behind the bridge so that it floats right down the lake. And then we want the children, and it'll look a little bit like this parade. I don't know if we can see this, but this is a children's kind of parade where they have made their own banners and they have little things to carry. We're hoping they will each in their own troops make things that are significant about preserving the earth and enhancing our environment. So we'll have this little parade start off, and it will follow as the golden ball goes down the center of our wonderful lake.
And picked up at the
end, when it goes over the waterfall.
Now you have another photo here while Al is zeroing in.
All right.
Why don't you explain what this is?
These are some of the more beautiful scenes of the area right between Tuckahoe and Bronxville. And I particularly am interested in showing this one because you'll see that there's a path that's carved out. We had 2 scout groups working together who were in about 4th grade age level last year, and they pruned out all of the entangling vines, they cleared the path, and then they started at the top. And maybe some of our listeners in the audience remember they came down singing a song, Make New Friends, Keep the Old. And they came all the way down, and then they did a little environmental song standing right here. But this was the area where they concentrated their plantings and their cleanup last year. And it was a special, precious day.
It's a beautiful area. My wife and I like to take our walking exercise around there, and we find hundreds of people there during nice weather in the summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think no one's really ever done a tabulation of how many people go through, but there's a couple, and I think you know them, Clara and Victor Tardino, and they got associated with the Westchester County Parks Tree Trust, and this was matching money that came from Texaco, but it had to be matched up, and the trees had to be approved by Westchester County, and 90 dedicated trees are on the westerly side of the lake. So they're down there very often talking with people who come by and pointing out where the right tree is that someone might be looking for. And this has been a very successful program.
Now, there are a couple of other things that are happening with the river. The 75th anniversary and the trailways that are being promoted. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, there's a wonderful plan underway to connect all the walkways that go all the way from the border, where our historic border is on this, all the way up to the Kensico Dam. If this was all connected, we would have enough space for a marathon. 26 miles
Is it?
of uninterrupted walkway, except you'd have to cross streets.
That's from the Bronx line?
So that's something that people are kind of projecting into the future. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of that pathway was smoothed out so there was no areas where you trip, and the branches that hang down were clipped away so you didn't bump your head and all those things.
Now, there's going to also be a millennium celebration.
Yes. Well, the millennium, there's the millennium, and then there's the 75th anniversary, and all of these events are stirring people's minds. And I would suggest that any group in the area that has a concept or an idea, they should start moving forward on it. And I know for our area, one of the things that we can really celebrate is the 25th anniversary is coming up of Bicycle Sunday. And as you know, that's right down in our own park, the Malcolm Wilson Park. And they've been having music and bands on Sundays.
Yeah.
That could be expanded. If our model on the 24th of April is successful, we can expand on that and maybe do it for every Bicycle Sunday in the coming year.
Yeah, that's something that not many people know about. We started off with about 10 to 12 people listening to the music down there, and I think some of the last ones had over 80 and 90.
Exactly.
But it's a beautiful concert. They have, I guess, from the Music Conservancy up in White Plains.
Yes.
They provide the musicians. The Hudson Valley Bank pays for it, and it's just a beautiful thing on Bicycle Sundays.
That's right.
And it starts at 12 noon.
Sharp. And it usually runs about 40 minutes, and sometimes there'll be so much applause that there'll be a couple of encores.
Right.
But there's a group, in a sense, it melts the dotted lines between all of our municipalities, because people walk there or they drive and park in the parking area, and they all come together because they love the ambiance of being outdoors and hearing music.
We have a senior citizen group that does walking tours of various areas, and they really rave about Malcolm Wilson Park. And it's just a short walk over the Bronx River near Riverview, and it's well utilized, not as well utilized as it should be, but well utilized during the summer. Now, we have another item that you and I and Yonkers and Eastchester and Bronxville are all working on. That's called Crestwood Station.
And we're working hard, I might add.
Just to give you a little history of it, the station was, I guess, memorialized by Norman Rockwell. The picture is behind us. Maybe I could just pick that up.
Yes, that would be good.
And this was in I think a 1946 magazine cover. It's called The Commuters. 1946, November 16th. And since then it's been placed on the historic register. And all the various groups that are trying to get this as a museum. The Railroad Museum, or some of the items that are pertinent to the town of Eastchester, Bronxville, and Tuckahoe, and Yonkers. So let's talk a little bit about how we're doing there.
Well, there's a woman who's spearheading, or as I like to term it, energizing this combination of efforts. And she's working so hard. Her name is Betsy Dolan, and I believe she's the vice president of the Crestwood Women's Club. She's gotten a lot of people to contribute support and ideas and information, and there's going to be a grant proposal that's going to be submitted to the federal government under the T21 aegis. And I think it's just about ready to go.
And I know Congresswoman Lois called me. She's anxious to help, and certainly the Historic Society over in Crestwood. And I think our Historic Society in Eastchester is starting to get involved, which is great.
Right. And just yesterday, I spoke with Eric Rosa of the Eastchester Arts Council and said perhaps small art classes could be held down there in conjunction with the Bronxville Adult School. And that all could be modeled after what goes on at the Pelham Arts Center, which is a 25-year-old, extremely successful cultural center.
Plus, there's a model train group that meets in various areas. They don't have a permanent place. They're certainly looking at Crestwood Station, and we'd love to have them. You know, the railroad has played such an important part in the history of our community.
Absolutely.
When the marble industry was in full bloom here, they had to have a way to get the marble to the docks, and prior to the railroad, they used to have to drag it down to Eastchester Creek. So the railroad, really, the impetus to get it here was the marble industry.
And that's amazing. And I think that the model railroad group are planning to do like a diorama behind their model trains, indicating the whole marble industry that was right in that area.
There's a beautiful painting of that over in the Senior Citizen Building. It shows the quarry in operation.
I've seen that. That would be a wonderful thing for them to depart from, to incorporate that in their diorama.
And Channel
in
10
miniature.
had done a series of broadcasts on the marble industry, and we have a copy of that. Maybe we could be
Showing that.
down. Sure.
Right, and there's a book that was wasn't a new edition of the book, which
Yes.
was done, which was like a PhD thesis.
Now, the Norman Rockwell group we met with, and they're willing to loan us some of their, not paintings, I guess reproductions of Norman Rockwell's, that can be shown also. So
Right.
there's such great potential down there.
Well, and the idea that popped into my head when we were working with the Norman Rockwell group was that we could use the community center in Tuckahoe and have a whole event around the Norman Rockwell memorabilia, the train set up in various rooms and various collections, historic collections, and we could invite people to pay a small fee to come in and have music and have food and make it a community supportive event, which I think is something that many of the young couples that have moved to the area of Bronxville, Tuckahoe, and Eastchester are longing for, is the nostalgia of small town life. And I think just as April 24th will be an outdoor event, we can also create some indoor festival events for people to...
And the way this does play together is that with the bicycle Sundays and with the various events along the walkway, the people do need a rest stop. And that would be ideal. It would play right into...
it would be perfect, because it would be halfway between the Mount Vernon line and White Plains. And we even hope that the trains will bring people out from New York City and bring them out for a day away, and they could start in White Plains and walk their way down and then catch a train right from the Crestwood area or Tuckahoe area and go back.
That'd be great. We've been talking to Vicki Ford, who was a councilwoman in the town of Eastchester and also has gotten involved in so many extra curricular activities. As a matter of fact, for many years you did a lot of youth work.
Oh, I did, with your daughter
with my
Alice.
daughter, yeah.
I was in my 20s and this group of young people came and said, could you help us start a youth center? And I had 4 small children under 6, and I said, if you can find babysitters for my children, then I will come and help you. And we had some wonderful meetings, and they actually went to Washington with a proposal. They didn't get the funding that they wanted, because they wanted to take over the AMHAC building and turn it into a sort of a private teen event youth center with ID cards and pictures.
Well, the experience was good for them.
Absolutely, they were ahead of their time, and they actually may have had the right answer, because I don't think anyone else did.
Now you're wearing a T-shirt celebrating Earth Day.
Yes, this is to help remind people who are watching the program that for the next month, I'm sure my phone will ring off the hook, but I will be delighted to hear from any of you. My phone number is 337-4044, and scout leaders and family groups and neighborhood associations are all welcome to call if you have an idea or a thought of how you could enter into and help us celebrate and enjoy our wonderful April 24th Earth Day celebration on the Bronx River Parkway right near Tuckahoe and Bronxville.
Now this is a beautiful shirt. If someone wanted to buy this, I guess this is in support of Earth Day. How might they do that?
Well, we have a few on hand right now, which we were going to give to the parade monitors. But if people call me quickly, I could place a bulk order, because these are done by the National Earth Day Society. And so, they're not expensive. I think this is an $8 shirt, which is for the quality of the cotton. This will
cotton.
keep you in your gardening activities for some years to come.
Well, that's great. I certainly want to thank you for all the work that you've done in the past and all the work that you've taken on now with the Bronx River Parkway Conservancy and with Earth Day and with your work up there in the town. I know you're working hard on beautification too.
Yes,
and you're to be commended.
Well, I enjoy it, and I enjoy all the people that come forward and have ideas and want to contribute their thoughts to how we can make our neighborhoods and our area better.
Vicki, thanks for stopping by and talking to us.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you.